Hello, my friends. Welcome back to Listen and Speak English, your best place to learn English through beautiful and emotional stories. Today, I have a very special story for you. It is called The Letter I Opened Too Late. This is a story about love, trust, regret, and a shocking secret that changed one young woman's life forever. One letter, one misunderstanding, and one decision that destroyed everything she loved. But was the letter telling the truth? Or was someone hiding a terrible secret? To find out, watch this story until the very end. This story will help you improve your English listening skills, speaking skills, vocabulary, and pronunciation while enjoying a beautiful and heart-touching story. So relax, listen carefully, and let's begin today's story.
3 years ago, my life was simple. I lived in a small apartment. Every morning, I woke up at 6. I made coffee, I checked my phone, then I walked to work. I worked at a flower shop. I loved flowers. They made people smile. But my own life felt empty. I had friends. I had a job. But every evening, I returned home alone. Sometimes I sat by the window. I watched couples walking together. I watched families laughing. And I wondered, would I ever have that kind of happiness? One rainy evening, I stood by the window with a cup of tea. The streets were wet. The city lights reflected on the road. The world looked beautiful, but my heart felt lonely. I whispered to myself, maybe someday. I did not know then that someday was much closer than I thought, because the very next morning, I met him. And that meeting changed everything. The next morning, I was late. Very late. I grabbed my bag and ran outside. The sky was gray. The wind was strong. I hurried across a busy street. Then suddenly, a bicycle came toward me. Fast. Very fast. I froze. My heart stopped. Everything happened in 1 second. Then someone grabbed my arm. Strong hands pulled me backward. I stumbled and nearly fell. The bicycle passed right in front of me. I could hardly breathe. My chest felt tight. I looked up. A young man stood there. Dark hair, warm eyes, a worried expression. "Are you okay?" he asked. His voice was gentle. I nodded. "I think so." He smiled. "You should be more careful." I laughed nervously. "I know." Then I noticed coffee all over his shirt. Because of me. "Oh no!" I covered my mouth. "I ruined your shirt." He looked down and laughed. "It's okay." "I am so sorry." "It's only a shirt." For some reason, his smile made me feel calm. Then he extended his hand. "My name is Noah." I shook it. "I'm Emma." Neither of us knew it then, but that simple handshake would change our lives forever. A week later,
I saw him again at a small coffee shop. The smell of coffee filled the air. Soft music played in the background. I was standing in line when I heard a familiar voice. Emma? I turned around. Noah smiled. My heart beat a little faster. I smiled too. We sat together. We talked. Then we talked some more. Hours passed. It felt easy, natural, comfortable. After that day, we met often, sometimes for coffee, sometimes for walks, sometimes for no reason at all. One evening, we sat beside a river. The sunset painted the sky orange and pink. The water moved slowly. The world felt peaceful. Noah looked at me. You always listen. What do you mean? You listen when people talk. I smiled. Is that unusual? He laughed. Very unusual. I laughed too. The sound of our laughter mixed with the evening wind. And for the first time in years, I felt truly happy. But something else was happening. Something I was afraid to admit. I was beginning to care about him. A lot. And I think he felt the same. But neither of us said it. Not yet. Months passed. Our friendship grew stronger. Noah was always there. When I had a bad day, when I felt sad, when I doubted myself, he never left. One winter night, snow covered the city. Everything looked white, beautiful, quiet. Noah asked me to meet him at the river. I arrived. My hands were cold. My breath formed little clouds in the air. Noah looked nervous, very nervous. His hands were shaking. His voice trembled. Emma? Yes? There is something I need to tell you. My heart started racing. He took a deep breath. Then he smiled. I love you. For a moment, the world became silent. I could hear my heartbeat. Nothing else. Tears filled my eyes. Happy tears. Because I loved him too. I love you too. His eyes shined. Then he hugged me. And in that moment, everything felt right. 1 year later, Noah proposed. He got down on one knee. His hands were shaking again. I laughed through my tears. Emma Carter, he said softly, will you marry me? My voice broke. Yes. The happiest day of my life had finally arrived. Or so I thought. Because just weeks before our wedding, a letter arrived. And everything changed. Looking happy. Very happy. Tears filled my eyes. I could hardly breathe. Who was she? Why had he never mentioned her? What else was he hiding? That night, Noah called me. I stared at my phone, then answered. Emma? His voice sounded warm, familiar, safe. But suddenly, I wasn't sure. Who is Olivia? Silence. Long silence. My heart sank. Then he spoke. Emma, please let me explain. But that silence had already broken something inside me, and I didn't know if it could ever be fixed. The next few days were terrible. I barely slept. I barely ate. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw those photographs. Every time my phone rang, my heart hurt. Noah kept calling, kept texting, kept asking to meet. But I was afraid of hearing the truth. Or worse, afraid that the letter was right. Finally, I made a decision. A terrible decision. I ended our engagement. I still remember that day. Rain fell outside. The sky was dark. Noah stood in front of me. His eyes were red, as if he had been crying. Please, he said, just listen. Tears rolled down my cheeks. I can't. Emma, you don't understand. Maybe I don't want to. His face broke. The pain in his eyes was unbearable. But I turned away and left. That night, I cried until sunrise. My pillow was wet. My room felt empty. My heart felt empty too. But I told myself it was the right thing. I told myself I would heal. I told myself I would forget him. I was wrong. Very wrong. 2 years passed. I moved to another city. New apartment, new job, new life. But some things never changed. I still missed Noah. Every day. Sometimes I looked at old photos. Sometimes I listened to old voice messages. Sometimes I cried. Alone. At night. One evening, while cleaning my apartment, I found a small box. Inside were memories. Movie tickets, photos, little notes, and a necklace Noah had given me. Tears filled my eyes again. I sat on the floor, holding the necklace, remembering everything. The laughter, the smiles, the dreams, the love. And suddenly, the pain felt fresh again, as if no time had passed at all. Then my phone rang, a number I didn't recognize. I answered, and what I heard next shocked me. Emma? The voice was female, soft, nervous. This is Olivia. My heart nearly stopped. Olivia, the woman from the photographs. I could hardly breathe. What do you want? There was silence. Then I heard crying. Real crying. I need to tell you the truth. My hands shook.
The letter was fake.
What?
It wasn't written by Noah. I froze. Olivia continued. I am Noah's cousin. My world stopped. Cousin? I couldn't speak. I couldn't move. I couldn't think. She continued crying. The photos were from a family vacation. My chest felt heavy. Every word felt like a knife. I found out recently who sent the letter. Who? A long pause. Then she whispered. Noah's ex-girlfriend. The room spun.
Everything I believed, everything I feared, everything I destroyed, it had all been based on a lie, a terrible lie. And suddenly, I understood. I had left the man I loved without listening, without trusting him, without giving him a chance.
That night, I couldn't sleep. I cried for hours. I hated myself. I hated my decision. Most of all, I hated how late the truth had come. The next morning, I bought a train ticket. I had one goal: find Noah, apologize, tell him everything, tell him I was sorry, tell him I still loved him. My heart was full of hope and fear. What if he hated me? What if he moved on? What if I was too late? The train moved through the night. I stared out the window, watching the darkness, praying for one more chance. Just one. I didn't know what would happen, but I knew I had to try. Because some people are worth fighting for. And Noah was one of them. The next afternoon, I arrived in our old city. Everything looked familiar. The streets, the buildings, the memories. My heart raced as I walked toward Noah's apartment. I stopped outside the building. My hands were shaking. My chest felt tight. Tears filled my eyes. After 2 years, I was finally here. I slowly looked up. Then I froze. Someone was standing beside Noah. A woman. She was holding his hand. My heart stopped. I could hardly breathe. Who was she? His wife? His girlfriend? Someone else? I didn't know. I stood there in silence, unable to move, unable to speak. Then, suddenly, my phone rang. I looked at the screen. The caller ID said, Noah. My hands trembled. I answered. Hello? There was silence. Then Noah spoke. And the first words he said made my heart stop. Emma? His voice sounded different, older, sadder. "I know you're here." I froze. How did he know? And what was he going to say next? I thought everything was over. But I was wrong. This is not the end of our story. It is only the beginning. Part 2 is coming.